Okay, so the book I read for the literacy assignment was Fortitude by Dan Crenshaw. He is a United States representative for Texas as a Republican, and so this book was kind of a biography-ish or autobiography about his life, but also a political book, so it was kind of hard to find some chemistry things, but I found a few, so hopefully they work. So yeah, this book is about him as a Navy SEAL and talks mainly about his experiences as a SEAL and how he lost his eye and how he gained mental strength from those experiences, and kind of showing lots of political sides of how we should, as a society, be more strong and mentally strong-minded, and having resilience. So that's kind of what this book was about. So the first thing that I found was a homemade bomb. So he says, so he was hit by a bomb and that's what made him lose his eye. And it says that the bomb was a homemade fertilizer-based compound wrapped in plastic. And I didn't really know what that is, so I looked it up. And it said that usually with homemade bombs, or fertilizer-based bombs, they are made from ammonium nitrate. That's the fertilizer that they use. And I didn't know how a bomb worked either, so I looked that up. And you need a perfect ratio between your detonator and your fuel. So what happens is the energy of detonation causes the ammonium nitrate to vaporize into a gas instantly. And the molecules of ammonium and nitrate break down and create an oxygen gas. And the energy of the detonation plus the oxygen gas that was just created makes the fuel ignite. And that's what kind of makes it like explode, go crazy. So that was my first scientific thing that I found. The second one was, so as a part of the Navy SEAL training, one of the things that they do is they are put in water, like a pool or something, and they do lots of underwater tests while they're holding their breath. So they have to fix problems and tie knots and learn how to deal with all of that in case of an emergency. So they're like thrown into all these different situations in a high stress situation because they don't have any oxygen, or if they do, there could be a problem. And so they have to fix all these problems. So one of the things that made me think of was when we learned about the pressure and gas laws and about pressure equalization. So when you're swimming and you're holding your breath, or not even that, but the pressure becomes imbalanced. That's when like your ears will hurt and your nasal cavity. So to equalize the pressure, that's when you will plug your nose and you will blow really hard, and it will force air up into your nasal cavities to kind of open them back up because they've been kind of closed and constricted because of that high pressure. So that was another kind of scientific thing that I found. The third one was about, he talks about how there's a power plant and the things that they do with carbon dioxide. So since this is a political book, something that's kind of been around in the news a lot lately is the warming of the earth and carbon dioxide's role in that. And that is seemed to be the number one greenhouse gas, which, so the way that a greenhouse works is that the UV rays or the light will come in from the sun and it will be able to penetrate through the glass, but the heat that is created can't escape. And that's kind of what carbon dioxide does. It holds the heat in, but doesn't let it escape. And so the more carbon dioxide that we have in the atmosphere, the more heat that we'll have. And so then so that's kind of what is causing global warming and changing to happen, is the heat increasing and energy temperatures increasing. And then my last one ties into my scientific paper. So the last one is about bullets. So, because this is kind of a war book too, I guess. So he says, an actual bullet is breaking the sound barrier when it goes past you, creating a physical and audible conical waveform which sounds like a snap. And mine wasn't really about that quote in particular, but about kind of how a bullet works. So inside the bullet case is a smokeless powder, and then it has a primer on the end. And when you put that bullet in the gun and you get it ready, like you cock the hammer back. I'm not very good at explaining things, so hopefully this makes sense. And then you pull the trigger, that hammer will go forward and it will hit the primer, which causes the gunpowder or the smokeless powder to ignite, and then the pressure in there causes it to explode out from the gun. And one of the things I wanted to know was, well, what is smokeless gunpowder made out of? So it's made out of nitrocellulose most of the time. Sometimes it can also be made out of nitroglycerin, but I'm focusing on nitrocellulose, which is a compound of C12H16N4NO18. And it's a highly flammable compound formed by nitrating cellulose through exposure to nitric acid. So yeah, those are lots of big words. I wasn't sure what nitrating meant, but anyways, so the article I found was called Experimental Study on Thermal Decomposition of Two Nitrocellulose Mixtures. It was written in January 1st of 2019 by Wenzenhog, Ruicheo, Tianen, some hard to pronounce names, Huihang, and something else I can't pronounce, but they're Chinese. I found it on the SUU library database. Anyways, so what he did in this study is that, so nitrocellulose is so unstable that they mix it with plasticizers to kind of help it, because it can go off or ignite at even sometimes room temperature. So to make it a little bit more safe to deal with, they'll put these plasticizers in. And the two most common kinds, and the two that he's working with, is a NCF, which is a nitrocellulose white soft fiber that kind of just looks like something that's been like shredded paper of some kind. And then the NCC, which is nitrocellulose white chip, which is a lot thicker in these little chips. And what he did with them was he wanted to see if the thermal properties were different. So he did a microscopic analysis and scanning calorimeter, and he ended up finding that the decomposition temperature increases with increasing heat, which makes sense for something like that. And then he also found out that the initial decomposition temperature of NCC was lower than NCF, and that the range of NCF was higher than NCC because NCF had more plasticizers in it than the other one. So I thought that was kind of cool, something that I didn't know about before. So yeah, so that was my book.